Words are about to be spoken on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, brought to you by the Ad-Free Shows Podcast Feed and Wrestling According to Alba Networks. I'm John Alba. That's the broken one, the one, the spoken one himself, Mr. Matt Hardy. What's going on, my man? It is, as we tape this, Thursday, May 8th, 2025. Gearing up for your Friday AM drop. What's cooking?
5/8/25, man. It's a beautiful day. Every single day I wake up on this side of the grass and not in a box. It's a good day. It's a good day for all of us. Yeah, man, just hanging out. It's been a nice week. I've actually had a little more time off this week. I got home and actually had 6.5 full days at home, which is very nice and very rare in this day and age. Big shot on Saturday. If anybody's watching this on Friday, Saturday night, myself and Jeff, we're going to be taking on Tyler Breeze and Fandango, the team of Briezango, for the first time ever at Northeast Wrestling. That's going to be going down at White Plains, New York, and it's going to be exciting. We're doing a meet and greet that day, starting at 3:00. So if you want to be if you want to get a meet, greet, and delete, make sure to be there early, because I don't know. We only have like 3 hours before the show, so we want to knock everybody out.
That's like the ideal Matt Hardy match these days, I feel like. You guys, Briezango, they are sports entertainment deluxe. You're going to go out there. You're going to have a super fun match. And I know you love those guys personally too, right?
Yeah, no, I know Fandango real well from working with him now, obviously, but I like Tyler as well too.
Very entertaining bunch they are. I enjoyed their Fashion Police stuff that they used to do in WWE. I thought that was very creative, doing the Zoolander style stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really did dig it.
A lot of fun there. We got Jen watching live via WrestlingAccordingToAlba.com, and we got several others as well. Drop a like in the comments for us, and don't forget, you can head over
Jen.
to there you go. You get a shout out from Matt Hardy. You can head on over to WrestlingAccordingToAlba.com and get live tapings of the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. Plus, you'll also get Q&As, pay-per-view previews, reviews, tape studies, lots of fun stuff that we do there. And we got Backlash this week, so we'll be doing a review and preview show of that. Dude, I can't believe, like, Backlash is here already, and then we're just running straight into the summer. Like, summer is so freaking close.
Yeah, no, it's here. It's not. I mean, but the sad thing for me about it, I think, when summer's here, then that means winter's right on the horizon.
Yeah,
you know, like.
Okay.
Things fly, man. So I as I've said many times on here, and I'll probably say it ad nauseum, like, once again, I'm a take it a day at a time guy, man. I try and enjoy every single day as much as possible. I maximize every single day. I appreciate every single day, and I'm grateful for every single day. I try not to think too far ahead, because I don't want to, like, speed up my life. I try and slow it down and be present in every single moment.
There you go. You got to live for the moment, right?
You have to, man. You have to live for the moment, especially when you have kids that are growing as rapidly as mine are growing.
They certainly are. It is remarkable how quickly House Hardy is growing. You talked about meeting, greeting, and deleting. I'm here to break some news on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, because later this summer, speaking of summer, we're going to be bringing another live Hardy party to the historic Kowloon in Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. And we're going to have more details on that next week, hopefully. But man, how exciting is that?
No, it's going to be great. I mean, we were there a couple years ago, had a great time, had a great turnout, but this time it's going to be myself and Jeff. You're going to get Matt and Brother Nero, and we're going to be doing a live podcast right there in Kowloon, and Jeff is going to be doing a live acoustic concert, which is going to be great. And we're also going to be doing a very special meet, greet, and delete. This is going to be a ticket you're going to have to snatch quick, because it will sell out, no doubt.
Yes, like VIP style stuff here, folks. You're going to get priority seating. You're going to get your pictures. You're going to get your signed item. It's going to be amazing. We're going to have more details about that in the coming weeks. But circle your calendars for, I'll just say it, August 10th, coming up at Kowloon, the historic Kowloon. And we'll have ticket information that we'll announce on our social media as well. Can't wait, dude. Kowloon takes such good care of us. We ate like kings when we were there, and everyone else will be able to as well. And so much wrestling history there, right?
So much wrestling history. I mean, I've been traveling to Kowloon's for 27 years now. Crazy. 28 years, actually. So, since 1997, I've had a relationship with Andy and Kowloon, and it's great, man. It was such a hot spot after any match in Boston, man, we would head out to Kowloon. There would be thousands of fans in the late 90s out there waiting outside just to kind of get a glimpse or to get a picture, get an autograph with all of the WWE superstars. It was a wild time in the business. It was an amazing time in the business.
It's almost like the Ribera Steakhouse of the United States, I feel like, for a lot of the wrestlers. Did you ever go to Ribera? I assume you have.
I did. Yes, I have been there. I got a jacket and I had the whole experience. Had a great steak and got the jacket as well. Loved it.
Say, how did the steak live up to the expectations?
No, I was happy with it. Yeah, I was super happy with it.
All right. You know,
I still have that jacket. You know, I dressed Senior Benjamin up in it a few times every now and then. I broke it out whenever we did the deal when we were training Stokely. We had a very fun vignette on AEW, and it was myself and Ethan and Zay. We were all training Stokely, and I actually broke it out and wore it on that occasion a couple years ago.
There you go. What do you think about Stokely being paired with FTR? You like that?
It's interesting. It's I'm very curious to see how it develops, you know, and where they end up going with it. So it's an interesting combination.
I don't hate FTR having a guy like Stokely, because especially if you were to set, hypothetically speaking here, if you were to set FTR on a path with Cope and Christian, if something like that were to happen, which they're certainly teasing could happen, Stokely is the kind of guy who could eat a lot of the comedy stuff from Cope and Christian. You know what I'm saying? And
sure,
really feed into that. Whereas FTR doesn't necessarily need to do that. And I think that's where you have the benefit of having a manager. And we'll see where that comes. Very excited, man. I think there's a lot of cool stuff going on in AEW right now, actually. We got Will Ospreay versus Hangman is going to be the Owen Hart men's final. Jamie Hayter and Mercedes is going to be the Owen Hart women's final. Those are two really big matches for that company. And I'd have to imagine a guy like you speak so highly about Hangman Page. He and Ospreay's got to have your appetite, right?
I mean, it's gonna be an amazing wrestling match, no doubt about it. And I am a big fan of Hangman and his constant evolution. I know he's one of the performers that constantly is trying to change things up. He's trying to give depth and layers to whatever his persona is, and that's one thing that I do greatly respect about him.
He really does. And there was such a great line in the promo this week leading up to the Double or Nothing match between them where Will Ospreay said, it's not about your redemption, it's about my ascension. And I think that's such a cool way to paint their two pictures against each other, where, you know, Will Ospreay very clearly is on the rise to becoming a top guy in AEW, whereas Hangman is undergoing this personal redemption arc. And I think that's a pretty cool story to tell that they've got going on there. Matt, last week we drop our episodes on Fridays, obviously. Late Friday, we got the news that WWE had released quite a bit of talent. Braun Strowman among them, Dakota Kai, Shayna Baszler, and several others. WWE does release a lot of talent every year or so. There are cuts, but they also are touting record profit margins. So there's a lot of discourse about this. What do you make of the releases? And is there anything that you'd have to offer to some of those talent who might be looking for a new start here?
I mean, I just think it's standard procedure. You know, it kind of comes with the industry. I feel like you have to know that going in. I mean, they've been doing that now, you know, these cuts like this for over 20 years for sure. So it's just, you know, they cut back if there's times where there are people they don't think they're utilizing or they're making too much money or whatever else it may be. They do that. They do that to kind of trim the fat. That's never going to change. I don't think even the TKO merger and everything else, I don't think that's going to really change that. You know, just a very simple fact that that's kind of how WWE does business. To the people that did get released, I mean, you're being freed from, you know, Alexandria, which is WWE, the safe place, the safe space. And there's so many great options out there to have right now. You know, you have AEW, which is still doing well. It's got a huge national and global platform, obviously. TNA is doing great things. You know, there's MLW. There's other little places. The indies are actually buzzing, and they're pretty hot right now. So there's a lot of places where people can go and they can reinvent themselves. They can start anew, and they can create their own name and legacy for themselves. And there's going to be some people I feel like that were frustrated with where they were at or how they were being utilized. And I think it's going to be cathartic to some of them if they decide to go out and bust their ass and hustle and do that and create a new you. I mean, it's ultimately the end of the day all about you. There's plenty of places to survive out there. There's plenty of places to go and build your name up even bigger than it was before if you're willing to put in the work and the sacrifice to do it.
What's your take on the idea of when they hit the indies or they hit another promotion? Should they be reinventing and doing something new? Should they try to ride what they had going in WWE and build off of that? What do you think is the approach?
It kind of depends on how hot you were at the beginning. I mean, in all honesty, if you weren't hot enough to keep the job, if they didn't think you were of value to retain you at that time, then maybe it is time to think about doing something different, doing something new. Once again, that's their perspective. You are going to have a built-in audience and fan base because you have been on WWE TV, which is the biggest, most penetrating global television in the world.
Sure.
You have been on that TV, so you're going to be a star, and people do know that. But I think it's a great time to experiment and try and do something new and try and do what you feel like you want to do. Whenever you do stuff on the indies or somewhere else, you get the opportunity to do what you believe in, what you want to do when it's all said and done. You don't get to do that on WWE TV a lot. A lot of times on WWE TV, you kind of, you're given marching orders and you follow those, and that's what they want. That's what you go out there and do. But this is your chance to really take the bull by the horns and try and determine your own destiny. And that's what I hope people are willing to do, man. It's a hard work. It's scary in the beginning, but after, doing it 2 or 3 times, after you get released 2 or 3 times, it kind of becomes, old hat, it becomes second nature when it's all said and done. So I hope these guys will accept that challenge. They'll be willing to go out. They'll be willing to bust their ass and work hard. Hopefully show WWE that they made a mistake by releasing them, because there was a ton of potential in that performer.
Yeah, and you see how many have either come back or have totally made names for themselves. The most obvious one being Matt Cardona and what he's been able to build as far as a brand is concerned. There's so much independent money to be made right now in entertainment, not even wrestling, but direct to consumer money to be made. So good luck to all of those who experience that. Regardless, it's not a fun call to receive. I've been on the receiving end of it twice in my career. It's never fun. So you just have to figure out, how do you pivot and find a way forward for yourself. So best wishes to them. I thought Matt gave some pretty good advice there.
And one thing I would like to throw out there to all of the people that that did get released, or that are working at anywhere, whether it is AEW, TNA, WWE, whatever brand you're working with. One thing I would say is, like, learn how to not be overly opinionated when you're talking about other promotions. Like, learn how to shut the hell up and just, like, worry about what you're doing. Speak positively. Like, stop talking negative about other places, because, like, if you do get that point where you do get released and you're gone, then you've screwed yourself up from going somewhere else. I mean, just be real smart. Like, think about that. Like, pro wrestling is a small world in the big scheme of things. There's a lot of places to do it now, but just, like, don't burn bridges before you have an opportunity to go somewhere else, just in case. You never know. The best thing you can possibly do is, if there's something you don't like, just shut the hell up about it. Just talk about what you do like, what is positive, what is good. And that's actually, one of the issues that comes with social media. There's people that respond to wrestlers on wrestling Twitter, social media, nonstop, that just negative this. I didn't like this. I didn't like that. If you're a wrestler, if you're a performer, like, be better than that, be smarter than that, and learn how to just talk about the things that are positive, the things that you like, and let your grievances go.
Well, it's like, if you're a WWE wrestler who gets released and you badmouth WWE, you never know, 5 years from now, one of the executives there could be an executive in another company, and where you are trying to get work. And it is such an industry very similar to the one I come from, but, like, so much of it is who you know, right place and right time, right?
A lot of it is, yeah. A lot of being at the right place at the right time is the case in the pro wrestling business.
Yeah. So I think that it's important to just, unless you truly have no interest in working ever in an environment ever again, which I also understand, I definitely think your advice there is pertinent in that sense. Anything else you want to add here before we get into our conversation today? Because I think we're going to have a really cool, fun conversation that was inspired by a friend of yours. But anything TNA-wise you want to throw out? Anything WWE-wise, AEW?
Man, I just want to thank once again, the incredible crowd that was in Los Angeles for Rebellion. They were absolutely amazing. It was a record U.S. house force, over the course of the last 13, 14 years. And then the fans were in Irvine for the television, the live TV we did, where myself, Jeff, and Joe Hendry took on Frankie Kazarian and the Nemesis. They were unbelievable. Their passion, their enthusiasm. I mean, you get there's a palpable energy in these arenas when TNA is performing now, especially like when you have the unit of, Team Believe and Delete, myself, Jeff, and Joe out there. The fans were so good to us. Thank you guys in Irvine, California, who drew us so well on both nights, on Thursday and Friday. You guys were amazing. And we had such a great turnout. Thank you so much. Like, I love the resurgence TNA is in. I love the dedication of the TNA fans. And you really can feel that something special is happening within TNA. There's an incredible growth going on, and like special things are happening. So thank you guys for supporting us, because once again, without you guys, TNA wouldn't be what it is right now. Without the diehardies, without my fans and Jeff's fans, we wouldn't be who we are right now. So thank you so much. I'm eternally grateful for your support.
Do you like Joe Hendry having a TNA championship match in NXT?
I do. I mean, I think Joe Hendry having a TNA championship match in NXT is going to be just cool for the TNA brand in general. I think having him on WrestleMania was huge for the TNA brand in general. And I think there's so many people that miss the whole point of him appearing versus Randy Orton. The match was irrelevant at the end of the day. That the only people that are worried about that are the diehards, the sickos. You have the TNA World Champion have a match against Randy Orton, a legit legend, one of the GOATs, one of the greatest of all time, and everybody was highlighted. Everybody got their stuff in, and it's helped TNA. I can tell from the booming business. I can tell just because we were doing the meet and greets at Rebellion and after that, and Joe Hendry was there much later in the night than he was previously. And Jeff and I, we're always there until the late of the night because we have long ass slots. But like Joe Hendry was there later, like that helped his popularity. I could even feel it out in front of the crowd as well. Like him doing this NXT thing is only going to be beneficial for him as well.
And that Randy match, it was a 3-minute match, but it was a perfect 3-minute match for what it was. Like, so many matches can have different criteria of what makes them great. And I think it served its purpose efficiently. And that's what you look for more than anything else when you're looking at a match. And that's what we're going to be doing on this week's episode of The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, because Matt is going to reveal what he believes his 10 perfect wrestling matches of all time are. And I'm excited to find out what your number one is. And it's going to be a great conversation. But before we can get there, you know what I got to ask. Please, Matt Hardy, hit us with that Matt fact.
Matt fact: Matt refuses to use a cell phone cover.
Why is that?
I just hate it. They're big. They're
don't
bulky.
Have to be big. They don't have to be bulky. Look, this one right here. This is nice and slim right here.
Yeah, I hate it, man. Dude, I'm a Hardy boy. I'm extreme. You know what I mean? I'm an adrenaline junkie. I have to be willing to take the risk. I like taking the risk of having my phone. People are like, "Oh my God, you're so crazy walking around with that iPhone without a cover, without a case."
Well, you got 2 phones to carry around,
and neither one of them have covers or cases. And they won't. If one breaks, I'll just buy another one.
It must be nice.
It is.
I don't know, with those tariffs, you're going to be spending $3,000 on iPhones soon. Get ready. Buckle up, baby. And then you'll get your $2,000 case on top of that. Were you a flip phone guy? You strike me as someone who really probably enjoyed having a flip phone.
I mean, I did. It didn't make me crazy. I had one when that was the only thing you could have, but like it wasn't necessarily, like my first choice. I think it was nice. It was nice whenever the phones became a little more sleek, a little more efficient.
Because I can envision your wife being the type of person who would really enjoy slamming a phone shut on someone.
Anytime she gets the opportunity to slam anything, she is more happy, I think. At least more satiated.
Especially if she's
got that energy built up within her.
Get a text from me for sure. Then she's definitely slamming that shit down. Oh man. Okay. All right. Well, I respect it, man. Kudos to you and your amazing ability to not break your phone without a case. It's pretty incredible. Living on the edge. You don't sweat it, huh? It's just not something you get bent out of shape about.
I don't. I'm all right. When I live for the moment. No, I'm good, man. I just like it, man. I just like it. It's smaller. I feel like they fit in my pocket better. It's never hampered by having a case like covering the photo, or you have to take it out. Like I don't know. I want it very simple. Like if I'm taking out my phone to like take a picture or a video, whatever, I just want it easy, simple. I try and simplify life as much as possible.
All right. Well, you're not sweating it, and you won't be sweating it with Mando either, because Mando has got you covered from head to toe, day in and day out, especially Matt Hardy, as the seasons change. Because in the winter, it's easy to hole up inside, but in spring, as we turn the page heading towards summer, you're going to be going out more. You're going to be staying out longer. You're going to be going to the gym. You're going to be going to happy hours. You're going to be hanging out with your friends. You're going to be going to the pool. So you know that you're going to be happy to have Mando whole body deodorant in your pocket, because unlike some of the other deodorants you got out there, it's going to last as long as you do, all day long. And Matt, when I'm out here in this New York City heat, it's really starting to heat up. It's almost 80 degrees today as we tape this here in the city. I got to go to SNY later, and I know I'm going to be under those studio lights. I'm going to be sweating profusely, but with Mando, they're going to have me covered in a good situation. What's your favorite thing about Mando's products, Matt?
As you said, as we are on the verge of summer being here, I am out all the time during the summer. I'm out swimming. I'm out doing stuff with the kids. We're in the woods. We're playing. We're building. And I like having Mando because it keeps me fresh. And my wife likes it a lot better when I'm fresh, as opposed to being a single sweaty mess. And Mando allows that to happen.
Because whether it's your pits, your balls, your thigh folds, your belly button, your butt cracks, your feet, whatever it is, Mando is safe to use anywhere on your body. You can use a solid deodorant stick, which is formulated and powered by mandelic acid to stop odor before it starts. So you could use a spray deodorant, perhaps aluminum free and ideal for harder to reach places. You can choose from a variety of fresh scents like bourbon, leather, clover woods, Mount Fuji, or Pro Sport. And it's clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap alone. 12 hours after a shower, the average man's grundle odor, it's about a 5 out of 10. How much is it with Mando, Matt?
It is a 0 out of 10, because that's what Mando does.
It is what Mando does. So you want to try America's #1 whole body deodorant formula right now? Well, you can find them in Walmart. You could go to Target. You could go to other retailers across the country. But for the best deals, you're going to go to shopmando.com. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like the mini body washer. I say this every time, and I mean it. The deodorant wipes, they are so freaking clutch. You're going to get free shipping with that, too. As a special offer to our listeners on The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, new customers get $5 off a starter pack. How many $5 offers is that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 Cinco 5. Is that correct?
Yes, 5 Cinco 5 offers.
Okay, there you go. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack use. Just use code HARDY, HARDY, at shopmando.com. SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show. Tell them The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. Okay, my friend, now that we're all squeaky clean and ready to go here, I want to talk about our episode topic this week, because we're going to discuss what you believe are the 10 perfect matches in pro wrestling history. And this stemmed from your pal Drew McIntyre, who went on the Dropkick app this week and created quite a bit of discourse by dropping his. And I'll give you his list here. He had Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 25. Bayley versus Sasha Banks at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn in 2015. Okada Omega at Wrestle Kingdom 11, which is the first of their encounters. Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair from WrestleMania 39 in Los Angeles. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Bret Hart, the match that was just inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. Masato Tanaka versus Mike Awesome from ECW One Night Stand 2005. RVD versus John Cena from One Night Stand 2006. The 2020 Men's Royal Rumble match, which he just happened to win, by the way. And The Rock versus Hulk Hogan from WrestleMania 18. A pretty diverse list from Drew there. And his whole point was basically like, it's wrestling. Like what you like, consume what you like. And I loved hearing his perspective on what he thought made a perfect match. So as you go through some of yours here, Matt, what's your criteria? Is there a one-size-fits-all? Did you have an individual approach to each of these? What are your thoughts?
Well, to begin with, full transparency, I hate that term, perfect match,
Okay.
but we are going to talk about what I think are perfect matches. My criteria is going to be very different. It has evolved and has changed. And at the end of the day, being in this industry for 30 plus years, my criteria is to do matches that are entertaining, that people are going to be interested in, people are going to want to pay money to see, because there is a story, there is a reasoning. These two people meet in the ring and they're going to battle it out. I mean, that is really what caps it off for me when it's all said and done. There are times too where you see a match that's just absolutely amazing and can blow you away. But I can tell you my reasoning for selecting the matches I did is more about the match being built and the momentum it took to get to this match, and the motivation behind the two characters that are battling one another, and the crowd reaction, and ultimately what the payoff is at the end of the day when it's all said and done. Okay. I mean, and I feel like when memories are made, when you watch a match and there are indelible moments and images in that match that are burned into your head that you don't forget, and that's not always from the athleticism of the pro wrestling that they're performing, the acrobatics and the athleticism and just the incredible technicalities and whatnot of the wrestling match. It's just like human personal moments. I feel like those human and personal moments, whenever that's something you feel, it's emotional and you feel it, and those are the things you remember the most, and those really make those matches stand out.
I can appreciate that. I like that. Why do you say you hate the term perfect?
Because I feel like perfect is such a word that can be misused, in so many ways. I feel like, and I tell everybody, this is something I say all the time. I'll say, shoot for perfect, and if you get close, then you killed it. That's what it is. Like, perfect is something when people say, like, oh my God, it has to be perfect. Like, nothing is truly perfect in life. Life is not perfect. Life is not about being perfect. It's not about all ups. Yay, success, joy, great all the time. It doesn't happen. And I just feel like, as a realist, nothing is truly perfect in life. Things can be very close to perfect, but just as far as saying like these matches were perfect, like, in my opinion, nothing in life is perfect. Things can be amazing, fantastic. They can be right up there. I think strive for perfection, and if you get close, you've hit a grand slam.
They can be wonderful, even.
They can be wonderful. They could be delightful.
Delightful.
They could be phenomenal. They could be stupendous. They could be spectacular. I mean, there's a ton of things they could be.
Courtney used the word dilapidated the other day, and I was like, man, my life
she probably owes me money.
She does owe you money.
I collect royalties on that word. It's mine.
How is the dilapidated boat doing?
Still dilapidated. Okay. It's good though. It still sells. Once in a while we sell on it.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so your list is not in any order, except I did make you pick a top one, so I am putting you against the wall on that one. But let's start with a number 10 here. Let's throw us your first match on this list.
The Rock versus Hogan, WrestleMania 18.
Okay, so this is a match, Matt, that I think a lot of people who are in wrestling revere as one of the greatest of all time. What's your reasoning for it?
You've got a real unique scenario. You have two generations, two top guys from two generations battling against one another. It was a match that like took Rock to another level. It's a match that like totally reinvigorated Hogan at this time. And I was there watching it live in front of that audience, and the people in Toronto were so emotionally invested in this match, and just the enthusiasm and the passion that was in the venue. I mean, you could cut it with a knife. It was powerful. You could feel it. As I was watching you could feel it. And it was absolutely an amazing environment. One of the most special environments I've ever been in. What
about the actual match itself stands out to you? Do we have a run-in?
We did for a second, but they disappeared. Okay. Now there is another running back. It's Wolfgang. Wolfie, do you have something to say? Well, come say it real quick.
Hey.
What's up, Dr. Wolfie?
Yeah, that's kind of what people call me, but I'm going to be Cook Wolfie instead.
Cook Wolfie, Chef Wolfie.
Please come to my party. Like a party.
Am I getting an invite? Is this my invite?
Yeah, it's coming. It's happening in around the month.
I don't even know what the date is. I do know they're both June babies. There's a Woofy and a Maxwell, so I think they're getting a mega party.
Okay.
Yeah,
You are?
Yeah.
Confirmed.
Yes.
Okay. Well, mega party in June.
All right. Fightful Select reports that Wolfie is getting a mega party.
Dr. Woofy, yes. Dr. Woofy and Maxwell the Great.
Dr. Wolfgang. I love it. Well, congratulations on the impending party, Wolfgang. Very excited.
And in your goodie bags, you could get this. 1 second, let me try and put it up on the camera.
Oh, is that the card he pulled?
No, not the card that I pulled.
I heard there was a big card that you pulled. That was the rumor and innuendo.
Yeah, it was $777.
This is a special Woofy card.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Woofy. Adios, buddy. We got to get back to business.
What if I want to take over and do this?
Well, you can't right now because your mother needs me to be done by a certain time. So, adios.
Do not feel the wrath of that one, Wolfie.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the match itself, it's a fairly straightforward match. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, very much so. It's a very basic, straightforward match.
So what about it made it work at the level that it did?
Because you had icon versus icon, and you had two guys that I think a lot of people never believed there would be a match between these two. They would never lock up. It was a dream match that people didn't think was going to happen, and it did happen. And the match went relatively well, especially considering, Hogan, his age, and it totally injected a new life into Hogan at that time. And it was really, really special. Just the energy between Hogan and the people that were kids growing up loving Hulk Hogan. And now you had adult fans that were diehard fans of The Rock. And you got to see these two guys battle one another. And it was just a really special thing. It's like right place and at the right time. And it ended up being the two right guys in there. And the synergy between them was incredible. And just the energy that came from the crowd was just off the charts.
We know that both Hogan and Dwayne are known to stretch the truth every now and then, but both of them have claimed that a lot of the match switched on the fly and that Hogan was never supposed to turn babyface at the end. There wasn't supposed to be, a red and yellow run after that, and all the NWO stuff that happened at the end of the match was all improv. Do you think that's fact or not fiction?
From what I understand, they didn't. I feel like they had a couple of plans going into that match, just depending on what the reaction was. But I don't think they anticipated Hogan was going to have that level of popularity. I don't think they anticipated that it was going to be so popular that he could have another red and yellow run. And I think they just had a backup plan just in case, which was smart on their end. So, there may be some truth to that. There could be a slight bit of a Matt fact somewhere in those statements.
Okay. See, it's interesting because you've talked a lot on this podcast about how you prefer matches that have these great stories that lead up to the actual match itself. And sometimes the aura of the two people doesn't sell the match itself, but the build up to that match sucked. It was bad. The NWO killed Rock in an ambulance with a truck.
It was a very, very, very WWE, very over the top, very over dramatic. Which whatever, and in some ways, I don't mind that. You know what I mean? He
tried to kill the man.
Yeah, John, I did Broken Matt Hardy. Are you kidding me? It's one of those things. I get it, but sometimes reality is very cool in pro wrestling. Sometimes when it's over the top outrageousness, I'm okay with that too.
Okay. I guess my take on that is just less is more sometimes when you have two guys who can stand on their own feet like that, and everyone knows how important the match is because of how big of stars the two of them were. I don't think you needed to inject vehicular manslaughter into it, but perhaps I am misguided on that. But I understand why.
Somehow it seemed to half-ass work.
It's better than nothing, right?
Better than that.
But a lot of people have this match on their list. I don't hold that against you in any way because I believe that is definitely one of the most important matches of the last 25 years in wrestling. All right, what's your next one?
My next one is Kenny Omega versus Okada at Wrestle Kingdom 11.
Okay, so the same one that Drew McIntyre had.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
And I think that was the beginning of a boom period. I mean, I think they tapped into something very special, and that was the beginning of a huge run for Kenny and New Japan Pro Wrestling. I think that really kicked them off into like a little bit of a boom period and like started a very important series of matches. Which, you know, their storytelling obviously very different from WWE. You know, they're not going to be doing vehicular manslaughter. You know, they're going to be doing this, and like work rate is something that they thrive upon. And on this occasion, these two guys being at the right place at the right time, it worked and led to many rematches, which also did great business and made spectacular matches.
yeah, they told that. So for those who haven't watched these matches, there were 4 matches that they had in a span of about a year and a half in New Japan that they set the bar so high with this first match that Matt is alluding to that they then spent the next 3 matches trying to top it and top it and top it. And you know, everyone talks about like Flair Steamboat and the series they had. This is kind of the modern equivalent of the Flair Steamboat series.
Funny that you say that.
Okay, all right. Well, it took Omega to an entirely different level, and he went from a guy who had a lot of promise to this might be the best performer in the world. It kind of made Okada take on this legendary status in Japan. And they were matches that, like, even if New Japan wasn't really on your radar, you went out of your way to watch and see and find out what this was all about. And I think there's an argument, Matt. I'm curious what your thoughts are here. I think there's an argument that you could make that suggests that the Okada Omega series is kind of what started the ball rolling for the momentum to have a promotion like AEW in the United States. What do you think about that?
No, I wouldn't dispute that at all. I
Why
wouldn't
do you
dispute it
say
at all. I mean, just because those matches, once again, AEW is much more like a New Japan Pro Wrestling because they're focused on in-ring quality of match than a WWE, where it's more entertainment based. And the quality of the match, if you go to a pay-per-view, obviously you want to have a great match, but also their storytelling and they do things that are larger than life. They have over-the-top stories and whatnot involved in getting to these matches. But I do think someone like a Tony Khan, you would see that match and would watch that. And there was so much buzz. I remember how viral that match was whenever it happened. And just people were talking about Kenny Omega and Okada, how they were just, you know, people couldn't stop talking about it. And then they obviously had the series of matches that followed it. And that even made them more well-known, that even, you know, extended their legacy and the word of mouth spread across the globe. And I'm sure someone like Tony Khan said, oh, this is my kind of wrestling. This is what I prefer. This is what I'd like to do. Like this might be something I could tap into because now it is showing popularity and growth here in the US as well, because people are talking about it.
I thought the in-ring storytelling they had in the series was just unbelievable. My favorite match from it is the second match, which is at Dominion that year, where they go to a 60-minute time limit draw. And the whole story is that Kenny's trying to best Okada because Okada bested him in the Wrestle Kingdom match. And he comes so close each time, but he can't put him away. And just as he's finally about to, he goes to cover him, and the time expires just before he can register the 3, which I thought was an amazing finish. And they'd go on to have 2 more matches that some consider to be even better than those. So shout out to you on that one. I'm with you. All right, what's your next one?
My next one would be from this year's WrestleMania as well. WrestleMania 41 would be Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky versus
Bianca Belair.
Bianca Belair.
Okay.
And the reason I thought about that because I was saying, it's like, okay, well, like, you know, as we're doing this too, there's got to be, let me think about women's matches. And probably because that was the most recent match I just watched. And it was excellent. It was excellent in every capacity. And I love the fact that they went out and like a lot of people criticized about how they got to the match because they didn't have like weeks of like solid storytelling, building a story with these 3 people getting in there and having this strong competitive match and whatnot. And they went out there and killed it. And their match was excellent. You know, Io killed it, Bianca killed it, and Rhea killed it. It was just such an excellent match, and it was one of the better 3-way matches you'll see with the inclusion of all 3 people in there doing spots that utilize each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I totally agree with you. I think that this is one of the most perfect WrestleMania matches we've ever seen. I really do believe this was a legitimate 5-star match between Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, and Io Sky.
Did
It
it by chance get rated 5 stars?
did. It got a 5-star rating.
It did. Okay.
It did. Dave gave it a 5-star rating, and it's hard to deny it, right? It's hard to dispute it.
No, I wouldn't. I mean, it was one of the, I thought they all killed it. They all busted their ass. They worked so hard. They were all so creative. It was so innovative in so many ways. And I mean, I thought the match was excellent, and it was cool because I'd had an insane whirlwind of a week that week, and I finally got like a chance to like sit down and breathe and like have a nice meal and watch it. And that was the opening match of WrestleMania. I was like, whoa, this blew me away. What a great match. What a great pace setter for all of WrestleMania.
I think a lot of people would argue recency bias, but I don't think that's the case. I do believe there's a fair argument that this is among the very best, if not the greatest opening match at WrestleMania, perhaps even in the same realm of Owen and Bret. You know, it was really that good in a very different way. And all three women came out looking incredible out of it. And it also, we talked about this on a review episode, which you can find in the archive. It really cemented Io Sky as a player and someone to care about.
And which she needed it in that match too. Like her winning was very beneficial for her. She needed it more than the other two did.
Yep. Okay. All right. I like that. 3 down, Matt. What's next?
I would say the next match I would pick would be Sting's final match, and it would be Sting and Darby versus the Young Bucks.
Wow. Okay. Wasn't expecting this one, but I don't hate it. What made this a perfect match in your opinion?
More than even the match, I think the best thing AEW has done has been the Sting retirement story. I think that's the best thing Tony's done, and the fact that they went through and there was like a lot of people that's like, well, is Sting going to put the Young Bucks over? They are kind of like the franchise, you know. They're two of the EVPs, you know, two of the guys who started the whole AEW movement. You know, is there a chance that they beat Sting and Sting leaves and he rides off into the sunset with, you know, one loss and trying to make somebody on the way out? And the fact that Sting won, it was very emotional. I thought Darby was great in it. I think Darby got elevated so much from his time with Sting. The Bucks did what they do. They go out there and they bust their ass to, like, you know, make the baby faces be baby faces and look like chicken shit hills. I thought they did a great job with that. And the fact that Sting won and then retired following that as the tag champ, I thought it was just very well done. I was there live for that match whenever it happened too. It was one of the last AEW appearances I had before I left, and was very, very happy that Sting got that amazing send-off at the end of his career.
Certainly so. I'm in total agreement with you. So it sounds to me like this is more about even just the moment that they executed and created.
It is. I mean, that's the moment of, like, you know, there was being uncertainty, and it was in Greensboro Coliseum, which was a huge deal for Sting. He had so many of his, you know, career moments there. Sting goes out and he wins, and he rides off into the sunset as a World Tag Team Champion, and he leaves undefeated from AEW. I just thought it was done well. The whole build up and Sting's retirement, in my opinion, is the best thing AEW has done.
I think there are a lot of people who would agree with that. So the violence of this match didn't make it too extreme for you? You know, the glass breaking, any of that stuff? No,
that didn't bother me. I mean, I know that there wasn't a ton besides the glass breaking when Darby did the dive out, right? I liked it. I liked how it was, anything goes, and they put Sting in an environment to succeed, and I think it was a big success. I think it was a big grand slam at the end of the day.
And his sons being involved in the match was super cool too. And
sons being involved, they got the story leading up to it where they beat up one of his sons, you know, and his family was involved, and he's never had that happen before. I thought all that was great, and just once again, I cannot overly stress. I feel like the way they did that, Sting having such a successful final run, leaving undefeated and retiring, stepping off into the sunset as a AEW champion, I thought that was the best thing AEW's done.
All right, let's get to number 5.
For number 5, I would say Stone Cold versus Bret Hart from WrestleMania 13.
You know, it's funny. We just tape studied this over on WrestlingAccordingToAlbert.com just to, there's getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. I'm like, I haven't watched it in a long time. Let's go break it down. And the match goes by a lot quicker than you think it does, but there's so much utilized movement in it. Nothing is wasted at all, and it ages so well, in my opinion. Why is this on your list?
This is the match that made Stone Cold. I mean, when you see that and he's bleeding, that image of him in the sharpshooter, not wanting to quit, pushing up, trying to get away, being resilient, a guy who is, pitching to be stronger than death, más fuerte que la muerte. He was that guy, and then eventually he passed out, and that's the match that put Stone Cold Steve Austin on the map. And him and Bret had an excellent wrestling match. I know they felt they had great chemistry. Obviously, they celebrated that at the Hall of Fame this year, and I agree. I remember watching that match, and I was fully subscribed to the story they were telling. And I was totally emotionally invested in it. And I thought it was just absolutely great shit all the way across the board.
Of course, the defining moment of that match is the fact that as you get towards the last chapter of it, they effectively do a double turn with Austin and Bret goes heel, Austin goes face. You've been involved in a double turn match before.
Mm-hmm.
How difficult is it to execute and do so at the level that they did?
Yeah, I mean they did it the tippy top level, right? It is challenging. I mean, you can kind of see if there's a baby face, Bret was at that time, where he was starting to have some people resent him, he was starting to have some people turn against him. That helps out in those scenarios a little bit. But Stone Cold had just created such a niche for himself, and he was on to something that was very special, and we all know what it grew to become. It was the right call, and they both played it. They both played their roles perfectly. It was a masterpiece in storytelling, and it was also a masterclass in doing a double turn as well.
All right, what's your next match, Matt?
Okay, well, we're going to be a little biased in this, but hey, this is my list, and this is my pod, so I'm going to be a little biased. I would say from Unforgiven 05, Matt Hardy versus Edge cage match.
Okay, all right. A match we have not covered on this podcast yet, but we certainly will. There are a lot of people who think this is one of your best singles matches of your career. It gives you the iconic
100%.
moment, of course, coming off.
This match, this match is referenced to me all the time. Whenever I'm out in my travel and people are talking about the match and the memorable moments that happened, and obviously the leg drop off the top of the cage at the end, which is why I still walk with a limp. But there's quite a bunch of people that revere this match, which is cool.
What makes it a perfect match?
I think from a storytelling, it was so emotionally charged, with everything that happened, with the story we're telling, with all the characters involved. There was so much, it was so emotionally supercharged, and people were into it. They were like into this match as much or more than the main events were that night. So people were very invested in it. They were very invested in me. And just the fact that in theory, this could have been the ending and like the blow off to the match when it was all said and done. They obviously continued it one more, and then we did some stuff where we went our separate ways just to play it safe, in their opinion. But we told a hell of a story. Everybody executed their roles perfectly, and I think all of the pieces lined up and fell exactly into the right place to create a masterpiece that night.
Would you say this is the best singles match of your career?
I usually do. If people ask me what my favorite singles match is, I usually go to this one. This is my initial match that I reference if people ask what I think is the best singles match in my career.
Okay. I think this is one of the best singles cage matches in WWE history. So there's certainly an argument where I can't doubt you for suggesting that it's a perfect match, and we'll get to watch it at some point here on this podcast. So good call. I dig that. All right. What do we got next? We are on to number 7 now.
I would say from Wrestle War 1989, Ric Flair versus Ricky Steamboat.
Okay, now we're talking.
Because this match was heavily influential in myself and Jeff. So we obviously had became diehard fans right before this, after Macho Man won WrestleMania 4. And we had started expanding, what we were watching, and we got a lot of NWA, Mid-Atlantic stuff at this time. So we were watching whenever Flair and Steamboat was having this amazing series of matches. And we were talking about the whole thing earlier with Kenny Omega and Okada about their great series of matches. I mean, Jeff and I watched these real time when it was going down. I remember we went over to, Jeff's buddy, Johnny Smith, who he went to school with. His dad, Melvin Smith, had one of those huge 20 feet tall satellites, and he was able to get the pay-per-views and stuff at that time. And I remember going over there and watching it, and we were blown away by the match, and we thought the match was amazing, and we loved Ricky Steamboat as the champion. It was kind of sad to see him lose, but just with the angle they did at the end with Terry Funk and him doing the attack in the first ever like pile driver on a table, it was so different and so unique, and like that caught us. It hooked us. Like as a fan, that made we said not only do we have to watch WWF every day on from now on, we got to watch this as well, because this is absolutely amazing. That match holds a special place in my heart, because it was a time where Jeff and I watched it. It was like they went to brand new territory, right? They went to a new frontier of like, oh my God, you grabbing this table and utilizing it, trying to power drive on the table in the man's career. And looking back in hindsight, things have evolved so much since then and got so much crazier. But just Terry Funk and the way he was willing to do such different, unorthodox things. That moment of Terry Funk attacking Ric Flair at the very end, I think that also adds to it and probably puts this whole match on the list.
Jen saying Flair and Steamboat were the shit, which they certainly were, but
they were great.
It's so funny you brought that moment up. I literally watched that moment yesterday. I was scrubbing through some clips, and I watched the pile driver on the table, and Terry said that it was the punch that he really wanted to resonate first and foremost with the audience and get them going on that, because you're right, that's like an addition to the match. Is Terry Funk the most underrated performer in wrestling history? Because I think a lot of wrestlers revere Terry Funk as one of the greatest ever, and fans love Terry obviously, but I think he's truly one of the most important performers ever in wrestling.
I think he is too. I mean, I think the impact and influence that he had may be very underrated, because he was such a unique groundbreaker in many ways. So he went out, he was a great wrestler. He could do this, but then he opened up so many different genres of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If he would have loved to have been, in a ladder match or a TLC match, you know what I mean? That would have been right up his alley. And the fact that he went to ECW, he was doing the crazy stuff at ECW. He was doing backflips and moonsaults off ladders and just doing everything that he could, being that elder statesman to try and help elevate this company and the younger guys. Like, man, he busted his ass and worked so hard. And, I don't know if I've even shared this on here before. Like, I've talked about it. I've got this, I think I have the old video. Whenever I started doing Broken Matt Hardy, he was with Tony Hunter, a guy that we work with all the time now. And like, he said, hey, you know Matt Hardy, right? I want to send him a video. And he's like, hey, Matt Hardy, it's Terry Funk. I hadn't seen you in a while, but glad you guys are doing so good and so well. I just want to tell you, I saw that Broken Matt Hardy you're doing. It's different, it's crazy, but it's catching on. Like, you keep doing it, and that's cool, man, that you decided to do something, think out of the box. He said, you keep doing what you're doing, keep thinking that way. That's why you stick around in this business for a long time. He said, I like it, and keep doing it. And I thought that was one of the coolest compliments ever.
That's awesome. I was literally just about to say to you, I'm sure Terry would have loved to have been in one of the Broken Universe matches. He probably.
Oh my God, that he would have been my first selection. He would have been, the ultimate.
That's so cool. That's so cool. All right, we got 3 more here, Matt. What's your number 8?
Number 8. Let me see what I have here. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, here we go. I am going to go with Shawn Michaels versus Taker at WrestleMania 25. Because I think of the two, that was my favorite of their 2 matches.
Why was that your favorite?
I don't know if it was the first time these guys had fought, and they were both like iconic figures in WWE, and I enjoyed the build. I was really excited to see what Shawn could do with Taker. I was excited to see what Taker could do with Shawn as far as that goes too. I'll never forget whenever Shawn came back during that time. I'll never forget how, he seemed like so nervous when he was first starting back, and he was he was going to get back in the ring after his back surgery and stuff. And just looking back in hindsight, I know now that he knew exactly how good he could be and how good he was going to be, but he was downplaying it, trying to lower expectations because of how great he was before that. But I was super excited for it. And I feel like it was because it was the first. It's probably a little easier to be better. Sometimes it's hard for the second one to be better than the first, but sometimes that does happen. And maybe even the fact that the second one was going to be his retirement match, maybe that even kind of, tarnishes it a little bit for me, because I didn't want to lose. I was very bereaved to lose Shawn Michaels as a performer. I guess how that goes when they did career versus streak. But the first match was the one that I love so much. And I also think it holds a special place in my heart because Jeff and I also got the opportunity to be like a marquee match on that same show that they performed on. So that also probably helps it hold a very special place.
Wasn't that hard though? With how well that match went, wasn't that hard to have to follow that?
I mean, sure, of course. It was to be on the same show as that. It was, and we were two younger guys, and we were trying to we were ready to work against each other at this time, and we lost a little bit of time in our match. And I know they were trying to cut a little bit of it, as they said in that. Whenever we did that documentary recently for WWE, and Jeff said, "Fuck that, I'm not cutting it out." They said just pin him after he misses the leg drop. He says, "No, twist of hate," and sure, it was. I mean, being on a show with those guys. I mean, those guys at that point they were legends. They were icons already.
Yeah.
You knew that was going to be a tough match to compete against, and I look at it from the perspective of wow, what an honor. We're getting to have a singles match against one another. Two brothers from Cameron, North Carolina, who had no ends in the wrestling business, didn't know anybody in the wrestling business. With the Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. So we've accomplished something.
We just tape studied this match on Wrestling Court Alba as well, and I would argue, Matt, that this match, it's ironic, but with how it's set up, is probably as influential on any AEW or New Japan match that's ever happened since 2009, because of how the match is built all around false finishes, big moves, and kickouts. Right. That's how this match is laid together, which is very much the antithesis to a lot of WWE storytelling at the time. And does that play into its groundbreaking nature at all?
Yeah, I mean, it was an incredible match. And I just remember thinking for Undertaker how incredible it was because, he was such a character performer, and he typically wasn't involved in a match that was like a high work rate match. And this one really stood out as being something that was significant when it came to the style of match it was, especially with how much of a great wrestling match it was.
Mm-hmm. Taker had the best matches of his career from 2006 to 2013, which is crazy considering where he was in his career, but he delivered big. Okay. We got two more here. What's your next match?
All right. Number 2, I say WrestleMania 40, Roman versus Cody.
I know you thought very highly of this match at the time. Yeah. We're a year later. You think this is a perfect match. Why so?
Once again, WrestleMania 39, I feel like a lot of people would have been totally happy and they would have been satiated if Cody had won the title, and they didn't. But then they made it a point. Cody said, I have to finish the story. I have to do whatever I have to do to finish the story. And the finish the story thing became I feel like everybody was saying that, come on, Cody, you got to do it. You got to finish the story. You got to finish the story. And they got it over, and they made people care. People were emotionally invested in Cody and his journey to become the world heavyweight champion. And then they got to this point where he earned that match back and got the match. And we were like, oh my God, we thought he was going to win last year, but he didn't. Is he going to win this year? Is he going to win this year? And then they added some bells and whistles where you had The Rock show up and you had Taker show up, and, you had these run-ins. You had the Seth Rollins thing, which was a real cool throwback to the show. And you had these scenarios, which, just added to the match, in my opinion. And then eventually, when it was all said and done, Cody did overcome all the odds and the bloodline, and he finished the story. And that was something I was emotionally invested in, watching as a viewer. And I think the great majority of the audience was as well.
So the Gaga was earned, per se?
Sure. Yeah. I think it was worthwhile. I mean, I was down for getting that because I feel like it made that last 5 minutes more memorable than it would have even been if it was just a great wrestling match and they had a finish. I think to a general casual fan, I think it is going to be more memorable having 5 minutes of those run-ins and these big names and this excitement. It's very WWE and it's very pro wrestling. And I love about pro wrestling. I love that all day long, no doubt about it. Than just having those guys finish and going to a finish on their own and then Cody winning the match clean.
It's very interesting because their 39 match, I think if Cody wins that match, it probably is one of, if not the best WrestleMania main events ever in terms of just pure straight wrestling match. But there's no doubt that the moments that were created from WrestleMania 40 are extremely memorable, and how it laid together. And, the first 20 minutes of that match, man, I mean, just in terms of like the action, they had a really nice match together. It was really strong. Roman and Cody had some great chemistry. And I think
No
they're
doubt.
two of each other's best opponents as well. Okay. All right. That leaves one. I like your list so far. I think it's pretty strong. I don't really detract from much of it. Definitely some that come to mind for me. I like someone on social media mentioned your deteriorating skills in their WWE 2K24 video. That was pretty good. The bits are getting over, bro. There's definitely some that stick out to me. I'll drop mine after you tell us your number one. But what does Matt Hardy think is the most perfect wrestling match of all time?
Well, considering we're on the extreme life of Matt Hardy, this is a match. If I did view a match as perfect, I would feel this one went perfect. And this match is from WrestleMania 17, and it is TLC 2.
Shocking.
I know that we were voted number 7 as far as terms of the greatest pro wrestling matches, but to have 3 tag teams doing a 6-way match with these inanimate objects of tables, ladders, and chairs, and then having 3 run-ins by the people that were kind of representing each one of the teams, I don't think a match can be more perfect than TLC 2 was.
Listen, bro, you're not going to find much arguing for me. I think TLC 2 is the best hardcore match I've ever seen in my life. It's from a storytelling standpoint, it's pristine. It builds off the other triangle ladder and TLC matches that lead up to it. All 3 teams have moments to shine. Every person in the match has a moment to shine. The inclusion of the 3rd individual for each team works within the context of the match. And then doing it on that grand stage in that massive stadium, environment's a very important part when you're talking about a match too, right? And
100%.
The Astrodome was the perfect environment for that match. Do you feel that aided the story you guys told?
Yeah, the environment did, and the crowd did. I mean, the way the crowd reacts to a match determines the quality of it in many people's perceptions, and everybody was into it. There had been a great build between the 3 teams, and it felt like you were watching something that was special. It looked like it felt like while we were in there, and it looked like, I think, to the viewer, that you were seeing something very special that may not ever happen again.
I'm with you, man. I would never dispute that being on a list. It would definitely be on my list. I'd probably throw Sasha and Bailey from NXT TakeOver Brooklyn in there, like Drew did. I was at that show, and I remember turning to my buddy Doug as we were watching the match, probably about 2/3 through. I was like, I think we're witnessing one of the greatest women's matches in wrestling history right now. And think about how important that match was for women's wrestling in WWE, right? And what that did. So I think that probably is on my list.
I need to go back and watch that match again.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. It holds up so well all these years later. And it just shows how individually talented both Mercedes and Bailey are. I'd mentioned Okada Omega 2. I'd probably put on there. I'm probably putting Danielson and Ospreay on there. You know how much I loved that match. I'm probably putting Punk and Cena from Money in the Bank 2011 on there. I think the intrigue with that match was incredible.
Yeah, no doubt.
I love the Hell in a Cell match between Drew and Punk. I thought that match was maybe the best Hell in a Cell match in WWE history. So
just sometimes the finish goes the wrong way, brother.
Sometimes the finish goes the wrong way. Yeah, it certainly does. Good list, Matt. I really appreciate the insight there. And, there's so many that you could look back on. There'd be people who'd argue Christmas in the Cage, 82, right? When the Freebirds turn on the Von Erichs. Like, there's so many that come to mind. And the beauty of perfection is that perfection is subjective. So however you approach that might be different than somebody else's. And it's okay to disagree on it. Wrestling fans, think of that what you will. Anything else you want to add about your list?
No, man. No, it was a fun little topic. Thanks a lot, Drew. Thanks a lot, Drew McIntyre. We appreciate the topic, man.
Yeah, we'll rip off your content any day of the week. So if you want to get on board with us here at the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy and some of that content, advertisewithhardy.com is the place to go. Promote your business to the extreme. Get out in front of thousands of listeners and viewers every single week on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. Big Drew McIntyre guys here on the podcast. So thank you, Drew, for the inspiration. Anything you'd like to say to the Die Hardies? We're approaching hour 5.5 here on the podcast, so I want to make sure we're having a good time.
I figured we were at least 8 hours deep. I just like to tell the Die Hardies, thank you all so much for supporting myself and Brother Nero. We are grateful for having you, and thank you so much to everyone who tunes into the podcast each and every week. There's a lot of people that come out to those big meet and greets that we do, and they say, "Oh my God, love the podcast, love the podcast." I do hear that more and more as time goes on, and I love to hear that.
Great. Well, if you're going to Kowloon in August, we look forward to seeing you there. The words have been spoken. We'll see you next time right here on the Extreme Life of a Matt Hardy.
Delete!
SaveWithConrad.com.
Yeah, I'm Justin Bruckman from Knoxville, Tennessee. What got me to Save with Conrad was the 83 Weeks podcast. I really wasn't thinking about getting rid of any debt. I just wanted to cash out some equity in the house to do remodeling. But I did both, so that was pretty awesome. Worked out great. Redid the foyer, built pantry space, and there was little odds and ends when I first bought the house that I wanted to take care of, and we were able to take care of it. So, yeah, paid off 2 cars and some credit card debt. So probably all in all, getting $30,000 in that. And then I got some $30,000 more equity out of the house, and still plenty of equity left over. So payment's good. I lowered my interest rate. I'm in a much better spot than I was. Super easy. Everybody was great. Very, very awesome people. Francis and Steve were great to work with. They're awesome. Made it for a very easy, seamless experience. I'd probably say all in all, probably $1,000 a month at least. I'm lowered my interest rate, especially the way the interest rates are right now, which is, that's amazing. I'm Justin Bruckman from Knoxville, Tennessee. I saved over $1,000 with SaveWithConrad.com, and I did a lot of renovations with that money as well.
That's number 2129, Equal Housing Lender. SaveWithConrad.com.